Hikaru will be joining us very shortly, and we will be discussing about these incredible matches. To be
I'm here.
honest,
We're all
Hikaru,
ready. Congratulations, Hikaru.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
what a momentum you've managed to build over these last couple of matches. Obviously, starting off with that match against Grishuk. Tell us a bit about how you approached that one, because it felt like once the game got into the last couple of minutes, it felt like you had a great advantage against Grishuk. How did you feel going into that match?
Yeah, I mean, first things first. Chess is a very strange game in many ways. Like, people probably think that all the time controls are more or less the same. It shouldn't make any difference as far as your overall strength. But I think for myself, as I said yesterday, when I was covering the play-in part of the event, I think without increment, just pure straight up, I'm as good as anybody. If I can get, I know in my mind or in my heart of hearts that if I get down to 1 minute and I'm not completely lost, or it's a simple end game, I think I can outplay anybody. At least with the players who are here, I guess you could say. Now maybe that'll be proven wrong. You never know, obviously. I guess like this is just a general comment, but I think if I get down to like 30 seconds and I'm not like worse and it's just pure chess and there's nothing else, I really think the only people that I would say can match me are probably Andrew Tang, Nihal Sarin, Daniel Naroditsky, and Alireza Firouzja. Those are the only 4 people on this entire planet who I think can match me. And so like with that big advantage, you could say going into the matches, I felt pretty good. And I think, the first game against Grishuk was very, very sloppy. I just confused a move order and got a bad position, but I was still able to get him low enough on time to where it became a little bit messy, and he wasn't able to find the best moves.
How did you feel at this point? 52 seconds for Grishuk against a minute and something for you, and you find this move knight to c6. Did you feel this was the pivotal moment when everything changes and things go your way?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that it's a matter of what is the cutoff. At what point do I think I can just beat someone on the clock? And in this case, already after knight c6, I thought I was going to win the game because I expected queen c5.
Yep.
And it's very logical to go queen c5, take the piece. I mean, it's obviously all situational. For example, if Grishuk plays queen f6 in 2 seconds, he probably wins the game. But there are these moments where when you're low on time, if you find the move in a couple of seconds, you win. If he spends even 10 seconds to play queen f6, I think I still win the game on time. So like this was probably the ultimate moment. When he played queen c5 and I got d4, I thought I would. I knew I at least had a draw after queen 6, queen g5. I knew that it was at least a draw, so I repeated. But also with no increment, why not repeat? Because that's one less second for my opponent to have. So yeah. And then once I go h6, I don't know if it's actually winning. Maybe it's not.
Actually,
it's some crazy stuff.
There's an insane hold. Yeah.
So you have to go.
Wait, what?
King e7. Yeah.
No,
knight
now you
e2
have to
first. You need the a1 square for the queen.
Oh,
so
and you
if
have
you
this
promote
a1. You have a1 e5.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I mean, yeah. Nobody's going to find this, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, no one's gonna find this. So yeah, I mean, I thought this was really the shaky game. After this, though, it was very clear that I think I was gonna win the match. Also, because again, the influence of this game, the pendulum, it's really important to think about the momentum. And I think once Grishuk lost this game, he knew that he was gonna struggle on the clock. Like he knew that he had this big disadvantage if we got low on time. And so he tried to play quicker in the second game, and I just kept the game going, kept looking for moves, and eventually I got a big win. So yeah, I think that match ended up being pretty smooth. The third
I
game
think there was
choppy,
a moment of pressure for Grishuk at this point when you had to find this bishop to b2 followed by king to g1, or king to g1 followed by bishop to b2. There was some pressure at this point,
again,
right?
again, the good thing is though, I mean, what pressure? Because like as I said, in my mind at least, I think I'm always a favorite if we get low on time. So as long as I don't blunder a mate, he's gonna have to keep burning time. And also when he was thinking, I actually was coming up the moves on his time. So I think when he played rook e8, he used a bit of time, right? Did he use like 20 seconds?
Yeah.
And so like I was anticipating rook e8, so I played bishop b2 instantly. So I mean, already here, I think it's too tough because like he has 2 choices. Either he tries to play quickly and hope that there's a basic tactic, or he uses time and hopes there's a knockout. And if he's wrong, he's just going to lose on the clock. So it's a very tough spot to be in here. I mean, I will say, to be honest, if this were with increment, the match score could have been very different in that first match, at least the first game for sure. So, it is what it is. But then the second match, I think it was kind of similar where Nepo, he basically, I think, told himself that he had a big disadvantage on the clock. And so he just tried to play the game and play it as though, to me, it felt like a game where we each had 5 minutes. and just avoid time pressure altogether. And it just didn't really work out very well for him. I mean, obviously, this position after D4, it's very. I mean, this is just like this looks like one of these stupid 3-0 games I play against like a 2900 on chess.com. And like, yeah, it's obviously nothing special, but with no increment, it's very, very dangerous, very dangerous. So yeah, it worked out. I mean, already here I felt great. I mean, I know that black is probably fine objectively, but you just keep playing. All the moves are fast with tempo, and there's really nothing to worry about. So yeah, I mean, I think the first game was good. The second game, I think I also showed the big difference, frankly, between increment and no increment, because like I got down on time in this game, but my moves were easy. And then when you don't have time to think, your opponent has to try and find the moves. And somewhere around here, it's a mad scramble, but I kept my wits about me. And I mean, I think I just outplayed Jan in the second game.
Yeah, I think finding this idea with G6 Queen F4 to free up that queen was crucial.
Yeah, and so I mean, and then he played King G2. He's obviously trying to cheese me on the clock here, but I wasn't low enough. And so yeah, it was just pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hikaru, you know, the first match against Grishuk, it's interesting because obviously we were paying attention to the time situation. It didn't feel like in this match against Nepo that the clock played a major role, because it felt like, you know, your quality was just better than his. But I guess in the background, like you mentioned, he was keeping this in mind. Like game one, he's playing a tempo, trying to stay fast. So the clock wasn't like a decisive factor, but it influenced his play maybe to play a bit
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, as what I was saying at the end of the day, I don't need to overhype myself, but I do think, you know, there's a reason that in Bullet, very few people can compete with me. Because when I look at Bullet chess, I know, you know, a lot of it is pre-moves and speed with the mouse, but ultimately, I think the player who makes better decisions is probably going to win. And so, like, for example, when I played Ali Reza in the Bullet Championship, like, he was making better decisions. When we got to these critical moments with no increment where he had like 6 seconds, I had 5 seconds or stuff like this, he made better decisions than I did. So in many ways, I mean, I feel like the argument is that the pure instinct and the pure ability to just spot the tactics and spot the moves is much higher when you're playing with no increment. And I think, yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. I don't know who I play tomorrow. Who do I play?
We're not
it's
sure
gonna be
yet. We gotta
between
check.
Fabi and Ali Reza.
It was 1-1, right? When we
so I'm gonna
right
play
now
Ali
it's
Reza?
2-1 for Ali Reza. Fabi is in a must-win situation.
So
yeah.
Team Liquid's busy getting bodied by Falcons, basically. That's what you're saying. Actually, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. Anyway, as I was saying, as I was saying, yeah. So basically, you know, it's going to be pretty exciting to watch tomorrow. Depending who I play, it's going to be exciting. So really looking forward to it. You know, I think, you know, one thing I would say, one big regret that I have, one big regret is that I really am kind of kicking myself in a way that I didn't just play these B3 lines. I didn't play these I didn't play these B3 lines in the World Blitz. Like, I tried to play real chess there because I thought in 3+2 I couldn't get away with it. And then I played and you know, I did well with it somewhere recently, I forget where. And then I also did well in this, and it's like, that's one big regret. That's my one big regret that I have. Is that I wish I had played B3 in the World Blitz Championship, because I have a feeling my result could have been much better. So anyway, yeah, it's, you know, it's good though. It's good because I think also there was no guarantee to make it into the
top 12.
The top 12. Like, now I think I'm guaranteed what, top 4, top 5, something like that.
Top 4 in this tournament.
Yeah, so, well, like, I mean, there's almost no way that that I'm not gonna make into top 12. So I'm very, very happy about that. And, you know, I think also, broadly speaking, this is, I don't want to be negative, but you know what, I don't really care. You know, one thing that I think is really important about chess is that players need to understand what is driving the interest and what is driving the sponsorship and everything that's happening with chess being part of the Esports World Cup. Like, I really don't want to spill tea, but I will say already after the plan yesterday, there was, you know, there's this players group or whatever you want to call it, and already people were complaining about no increment and this, that, or the other thing, and you know, they're already complaining about the finals in Saudi Arabia, and I think that it's very important that people are aware of the fact that, you know, the interest, you might want to play with increment at times, you might want things like this, but if the fans and the sponsors want the show, they want no increment, they want it to be like an esport, you know, there's a reason they're putting money in this, and players really should not be complaining about these sorts of things. So that's the one bit of like tea that I'll spill right now. For anybody who's wondering, is like there was this whole long thread in one of WhatsApp's groups, and everyone's already complaining about this, that, or the other thing. But I think at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's a good format, and I think if I get flagged in a game or something, that's my own fault. If I mismanage my time, that's how it goes. And it's great. Also, it's funny because all the people who are complaining, when I'm so old that when I grew up, not only did we not have digital clocks that showed your time, like we're using these analog clocks. You didn't even know if you had 5 minutes or you've like you didn't. I remember my stepfather had this Yugoslav clock with this like hanging flag or something that counts down from 1 minute, or Yugoslav, Serbian, whatever it is, but one of these like analog clocks. And so you didn't even know the amount of time you had in the old days, but you had to play. And so I find it comical that all these people are complaining about no increment when most of us grew up with that. I mean, that's what we grew up with. Or you could look at that very famous game. I think it was Karpov-Kasparov, where Gary had to make 3 moves and his flag is hanging in that famous World Championship game near the end. And Gary blundered before move 40. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying it, and it's pretty good stuff. So it's good.
Do you feel players right now, with all these organizations signing players, do you feel the players not being signed will understand the fact that showmanship is important as well when you're trying to attract sponsors?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think, yes, it has to be, I've said this 1,000 times. Maybe one day I'll go on one of these podcasts with like one of these business groups like Shamath or those guys. But I think what I would say is that fundamentally my view on chess is very simple. Chess is a very boring game. If you don't play chess, you don't understand anything about it. It is about as boring as anything can be. So when I view it that way, I think about it for, people in my own family who don't play chess, or friends I have who don't play chess at all, I think it's a very boring game fundamentally. Like nobody wants to watch a super long game when they can't understand anything that's going on. So I think having these faster games, no increment, is one of the ways to really try and boost the profile of chess. And so I think, at least for online, there's no reason, I think, if you're trying to bring it to the masses, to play with increment. I don't really like it. I know, as I said, there's this silly players group thing where people are already complaining, but whatever.
This has been a long-standing conversation, right? How to bring chess to the big screen or to the masses. And I feel like it's always about like speeding it up. Like you said, Hikaru, for most, let's say, casual viewers or players who don't play chess, if you just watch like a long game and it's very technical and you got all this players thinking for 20, 30 minutes, they're going to tune out. So it makes a lot of sense, especially when you have the esports format. That you have
again, like the bottom line, as I would say, like I'm not trying to I'm not trying to cause drama or anything, but if you look at the esports orgs that are signing players right now, the players are making more money, and in some cases substantially more money than they've ever made in a single year in their careers. Or it depends on that, I guess. But the point is, you have players making a lot of money. Okay, let's leave it at that. You have players making a lot of money. They're doing a lot better. And so there's a reason for that. And I think that can only be good for the game, even if you have a clown show or, there are a lot of blunders, this, that, or the other thing. That can only be good for the game. That can only be good for the game. So I don't really see why players are complaining about it. And also, as I said before, like I grew up, this, Alex, but, I grew up playing at the Marshall. You grew up playing with BHB clocks, like later on digital clocks, but like you play with no increment, then they have delay, then there's increment, there's all this other stuff. Like, maybe I'm a boomer for saying that, but like, just manage your time better is my attitude. Just manage your time better. Is all I have to say.
And I feel like if you do want to have other type of tournaments, classical or whatnot, if you're more of a purist, you have diversity in the chess world. Like you can watch Tata Steel. You're going to get 7 hours of classical chess. You have those options. Exactly. We might as well try to diversify and appeal to the larger masses.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my general view. I know some people are going to probably go and say, well, you're just saying this because 10-0 feet favors you more than playing with increment or some garbage like that. But I think that ultimately, I just look at it as something that's good. If I'm right about the paradigm that you're trying to push chess to the masses and you need it to be exciting, and no increment leads to scrambles, people getting really nervous and blundering or making 20 moves very, very quickly with the pre-moves, I think that can only be a good thing. That can only lead to more money being in players' pockets at the end of the day, and that should be the ultimate goal and what people want at the end of the day, instead of having a lot less money and maybe more classical chess.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the generous, sorry, Christian.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think the generous interpretation, especially if you bring up this topic for like chess purists, and I'm talking from, I guess, my perspective, is I guess the generous interpretation is people are worried like, this is replacing chess, but like you said, you could have diversity, right? You could have your classical chess, no one's saying that's wrong, right? But you could also have
I
like
mean,
Hikaru saying, yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what is being replaced? Everybody has more turns to play now than ever. Like, I'm
Exactly.
not like, honestly, I don't know what my schedule is going to be like the rest of the year. But as it stands right now, I'm going to be playing more chess tournaments this year than I've played since like 2019. Like, I literally have like almost every month this year, I'm playing something. Now, I might change and not play the Grand Swiss or the World Cup or something, depending, or skip a freestyle event. Who knows? But like, there are more tournaments now. So I really would argue that this notion that you know, that somehow it's taking over. Like, players can play what they want to play. Players can play whatever they want to play. So I don't really buy that argument. But you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I think that I'm just really, really excited to represent Team Falcons. Be a part of the nest, be part of a team that has so many illustrious, great esports players like Peter Bott, obviously, who just, I think, won FNCS. So I would say that I'm just really happy to represent an org, and it's going to be an exciting path going forward.
And I think this is a big change, and a lot of players perhaps don't understand this change. But you have some experience with organizations in the past as well. What do they expect from players? What do they expect? Do they expect more social media interaction? Do they expect performance? What do they expect first and foremost, these organizations?
So, you know, I would say, you know, one of the big regrets I have, or that I would say, was that, you know, it feels like during the boom from 2020 to about 2022, it didn't feel to me like it was helping improve the situation for the professionals. Now, at the time, it's very obvious to understand why the only people who were signed, I mean, well, frankly, I was the only professional chess player who was signed to signed to an org, is because the only way you could monetize that or make it worthwhile was if the people were making content. Now, if you look at everybody here, literally, except for me, nobody is doing a lot of content. You, of course, have Fabiano doing a podcast like once a week, but beyond that, I mean, nobody is doing anything. So you're not going to be able to monetize that through like YouTube videos or through live streams or anything of that sort, which is why nobody was signed until now, when, because there's the Esports World Cup with an overall prize on top of the chess event, it's brought a lot of teams in. And I would also say, you know, when I look at my entire career in chess, one of the big things that that has always been missing from the economic model, and I don't talk about esports, but the economic model as a whole, is that you get sponsors who want to put money into a tournament. But at the end of the day, once the tournament ends, the sponsor is putting that money in. Most likely they're losing all that money. They're not going to recoup it. They're not going to recoup the investment or philanthropy, whatever you want to call it. Like, they're not going to recoup it. But when it comes to the Esports World Cup, you have the prize fund where the players can get money. But because they're the overall prize where the winning team gets something like $7 million, the investment can be worth it, because there is actually a way to recoup that money that you're spending on these players. And so that is a very big difference versus the past. And I think it's a very exciting time. I'm optimistic that chess will be in the Esports World Cup for quite a while. But it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And I'm loving it. By the way, for anybody who's asked about FNCS, I thought there was the trios or something where maybe I've got the trios wrong. I knew in solos that he got second, but I thought there was a trios thing which he won. But maybe I was just looking at the wrong thing on Twitter earlier. So, but anyway, whatever. The point is, you know, the point is this can only be good for chess.
So you feel this has staying power compared to the previous years when the Botas were signed to organizations. You feel like right now, given that more players are being signed, it has staying power because of the World Cup.
Well, it's very different because the organizations can make money. Like I said, if you have a Team Liquid or a Team Falcons or another team where they go on to finish in the top, let's just say top 5, for example. I think the top 5 probably can make more than $1 million. So you can recoup that investment. So you're not really taking a big risk. But when you look at it from the content standpoint, like when I was with an org, like there was really the only way, I mean, I think I can say this now because I haven't been part of one of those orgs for a while. The only way to make money was basically off of shared ad revenue that these organizations had with Twitch at the time. Which is why streamers like myself were required to stream a huge amount of hours. That was how you make money. But that obviously has absolutely nothing to do with professional chess whatsoever. That's simply a content creator thing. So it's a very different economy altogether. And so yeah, it's a very different world now. But I think, you know, for me, and I said this in the interview with Fiona for Take, you know, I don't need to toot my own horn, but I am very, very happy that it feels like finally the players are actually financially benefiting from the whole chess boom. Because frankly, they didn't benefit. The content creators benefited from 2020 to 2022. So to see the players finally getting their due for putting in so many hours of studying the game and spending their whole lives on it, it's really nice to see.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was wondering is, do you see this encouraging, you mentioned with the past content creation boom, and now we have, you mentioned Fabiano, of course, with doing podcasting. Do you feel that more people are going to start to get into dabbling or just doing more outside of playing chess to build this this brand potentially now that they can get
Yeah, I mean,
signed?
I think ultimately the people who are getting signed because of their chess. I mean, mostly. I mean, I don't know. Maybe my case is slightly different, but in most cases, because of their pure abilities as a chess player. So I think it still matters a lot. But I also think, to use an example, because someone mentioned this, if you look at Alexander Bortnik, who's a great example. I don't know exactly what the deal is that he has with with Navi, but still, he's someone who's been grinding, streaming for so long. And really like kind of hasn't seen any like monetary profit through it, I guess, in some way or in a big way. And to see him get a deal, someone like that who's a journeyman, someone who I think is very underappreciated, is really, really great to see. It's really great to see. And I think, at the end of the day, people are probably going to be more interested in doing some content, is what I would say. I think when I look at people like Ali Reza, I said this before, Ali Reza is the one person who I thought during the pandemic had real potential as a top player sorry, I'm following the game too, so I see these blunders. But I feel like Ali Reza was one guy who I thought had real potential and maybe do some stuff in content creation. So maybe he'll do something. But overall, I mean, I think the players are probably mostly going to stick to what they know right now. But who knows?
Yeah, and I
That's
think
someone who I was thinking of actually, because of course he's well known and he's especially in if you look at the FIDE Blitz ratings, he's one of the top players in the world. But I'm sure he has, because he's been streaming and he's been doing it for a long time, he does have that extra exposure. So I'm curious, that could be, of course, for the very top players in the world, like you said, like your skill is your skill, right? You can't replace that. But for other players, I'm sure that could be helpful when there's considerations of who to sign to these organizations.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can play a role. Although, I mean, truth be told, I think at this point, the idea of starting from scratch and really becoming big, I think is borderline impossible unless it directly benefits like Levy or myself at the very top of the funnel. So I'm kind of skeptical it's possible to just start from the beginning. But I think at any rate, the bottom line is it's good for the players, and anything that is good for the players and puts more money in the pockets is just going to be a win-win. And so. I can talk about myself all day long, whatever, but it's good to see other people benefiting. It really is good to see that. So I'm really happy. I'm really excited to see chess in the Esports World Cup. Really happy to see all these teams that are interested. And it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be exciting.
And I think you made a very good point with Bortnik. Bortnik is also extremely good in this type of chess, right? In online chess, he's been grinding, sure, but he's also been exposed as one of the best players in online chess. He always performs well in Title Tuesdays and so on. Do you feel like you're going to see the Jospams of the world get this type of deals? People that classical chess, let's say, is not their thing necessarily, or are around 2600, but when it comes to online chess, no increment chess, then they perform at a much higher level.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I will say, I think the format, to be fair, I think a lot of people are getting into it. They aren't aware exactly how it works. And that like chess does not have a lot of unpredictability. I mean, I said this before, and we'll see if it actually holds true to the end. But I realistically think in this format of 10-0, there probably are like 4 or 5 people who probably can win, and I don't think anybody else has a chance. But at any rate, I think that these orgs will become more educated. They'll probably try to sign certain players to some of these short-term deals, see who makes it through, who doesn't make it through. Because also, like, if you look at it right now, I don't know what the deals are, but if you look at Navi, I think all 3 of their players have bombed out, right? In a sense. I don't know how Wesley played a second match. I didn't see how he did. But
they're in the losers bracket.
Wait, wasn't there just a checkmate there with Rook H1 and Knight H4?
Yes, there was.
What was that?
There was.
Wait, what is King G3?
They're still checkmating.
And now this is where I give the "Are you not entertained?" Are you not entertained? I mean, this is what you want to see. Nobody wants to see perfect chess. You want to see blunders. You want to see these sorts of things happening. Like, this is what you want to see.
Yeah. Yeah, knight
Um,
f4 followed by
yeah,
h1.
that's so bad. Maybe I'm overestimating Ali Reza. That's pretty bad, actually, what he just did. But at any rate, I think I think that this can only be viewed as a positive for chess. That's the bottom line. This can only be viewed as a positive. So I don't really I don't really see anything bad coming out of this. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. That's all I can say right now. This match is 2-2, right? So they go to Armageddon?
Yeah.
It is 2-2.
They're gonna
Yeah.
start the bidding process, right? And just like we used to do for the previous events.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were to ask me, I mean, I don't know what the bid is going to be. But that's messy. Armageddon is tricky. It's 10-0. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think personally, my view is that if you're Ali Reza, you probably want black, but you probably don't want to go too low on time. That's my guess. Maybe like 8 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Hikaru, while we wait for that, I think it's time for you to, we're being told that perhaps you have better things to do. Maybe do a recap, get ready for the next matches as well. You still have plenty to go until the finals, but so far so good. Great performance. Everybody was hyped up in chat to see you come back after freestyle chess. So well done today and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you so much. See you guys. Have a good one.
See you,
Bye.
Hikaru.